Hello folks, something a little different today. We're going to be doing a quick primer on Wasteland. Being an older game, you need to be in a slightly different headspace to play it than you would for any other game. Especially if you were someone that bought and played Wasteland 2 and got a copy of this along with it and are wanting to check it out. We are currently playing on the what did they call it? The original classic version. So this is basically just the DOS version with a slightly custom DOS box wrapper and some slight tweaks to put the paragraphs inside the game and add some music and other stuff. They also did some high-res graphics, but I think I have them disabled because they're not animated and I don't like them as much. Anyway, here we are. Wasteland. So, when you start, as soon as I remember how to start. Start. There. Jeez. Don't normally have that much. When you start, you end up here. You are just outside the Ranger Center. They give you a pre-built party. The pre-built party is more or less okay. Thrasher's pretty bad. You can do it with this party. I would not recommend it. I would recommend building your own, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Now you see there's this little question mark up here. If you click on that, it'll give you a section from the manual that goes over a lot of stuff. The most important stuff, thankfully, is right here on the top. It is an explanation of the attributes. Attributes are very important in Wasteland. As you can see, strength, this is if you want to kick down a door, that's strength. Skill checks and attack checks in the game combine the attribute and the skill and figure out how to roll against a target number. This is using the old Mercenary Spies and Private Eyes system. A modification of it, I believe. Anyway, so that's your strength. Intelligence is the most important attribute in the game, especially when you're building a character. Intelligence controls how many skill points you have when you make the character to pick your starting skills. Also, every skill has a IQ floor. So for brawling, you have to have an IQ of 3. For doctor, you have to have an IQ of like 22 or something. So if your IQ isn't high enough, you don't even have access to the skill. This is very important. I usually advise new players to, every time they level up, put both of their points into IQ until their IQ is at least 26 or so. And more so if you need more skill points. So IQ is very important. Luck is like a lot of things. It has small impact on all sorts of stuff. It's, again, kind of a black box. Speed is, think of it as combat initiative. The faster players will act before the slower players. Worth keeping in mind, players and enemies with firearms or energy weapons will go before melee characters. So even if your speed is 100 and you're facing a robot with a speed of 20, he's going to shoot before you get a chance to swing. Agility, that is hand-to-hand combat, skills like acrobatics, things like that. Agility and dexterity often confuse new players because dexterity is normally, you would think of as manual dexterity, which it controls, but it controls a whole lot more. Because dexterity is not just manual dexterity, like picking a lock, but also aiming. You can have an 8 in your weapon skill. If your dexterity is low, you're not going to hit. That's part of the problem with Thrasher, is his dexterity is very low. Charisma is less important. It makes life easier dealing with NPCs that are in your party, because they can refuse your order. So, but it's you can consider it a dump skill, although it's rolling, not assigning points. So dump skill is kind of a misnomer. Skill points we went over. Rank, that's just your level. But instead of level 1, 2, 3, it's, private first class, warrant officer or whatever. Max con, that's your hit points. Sex and nationality have minimal impact on the game. There's only one place where sex is important. Nationality has no impact. Pool and divide, that's just your money. So we go on. You've got your inventory. You can hold, I believe it's 30 items, 30 clips, and 30 Jeep engines, whichever. And then your skills. And as you can see, Hellraiser here, level 2 brawling, climb, clip pistol, so on and so forth. And that's all the skills he's got. So the reason Thrasher is kind of a bad character is that dexterity of 9. That is really bad. And the IQ of 10 isn't helping much either. You can see he's got much fewer. Let's see, what do we got? 15, 14, 10, 17. Okay, so Snake, I don't know if you say so. So as you can see, Snake's got a lot more skills that are higher level too. But you're going to play the game. You want to play it. So first things first, delete everyone. You see I'm not using the mouse. That's because this game was not designed with mouse interface in mind. You can use the mouse. I strongly advise you do not. Everything can be done on the keyboard. There is, I believe, no situation aside from pulling up paragraphs, which wasn't part of the original functionality, where you can't use the keyboard for everything. So on this screen, if you want to delete a character, you hit D. If you want to create a character, you hit C. And this brings us to our character creation. That's a bad character. And what's happening here is what a lot of character creation is. Like I said, this is an old game. You need to get into an old headspace. This game was done in 1988. You rolled your characters. You can roll forever, but you rolled your characters. This is acceptable. That luck is lower than I'd like, but luck kind of tips things in your favor. It's not critical. But we've got an IQ of 15. We've got a dexterity of 18, so we'll get enough skills and we'll be able to shoot. Our max con is 32, whatever. So we'll accept. And we'll just name you Primer. And so here we have our skills. You can see here we have the IQ required, how many points it takes to get the skill, and what our current level is. So you can see down here, the reason we consider 15 the minimum is because that's the intelligence you need to have for medic. Medic is one of the most important starting skills. The manual in the game advises you to have at least one character with medic. That's nonsense. You want everyone to have medic. Because if your medic gets knocked out, who's going to do medic? Nobody. The game is very unforgiving. If you're knocked unconscious, you will eventually recover, as long as you aren't irradiated or diseased or something. If you're seriously wounded, you will get worse as time goes on. Serious, critical, mortal, comatose, dead. The further down you are on that, the harder it is to bring you back, especially with medic, which is not very good. Medic works for seriously wounded. You can bring someone back from comatose with level 1 medic, but you'll be spending a long time using the skill. Later in the game, you can get Doctor, which is medic on steroids and much better. And obviously, when you're dead, there's no coming back. So, First things first, pick up Medic. Most important skill to have as a starting character. Now, we're doing a normal starting character, so my normal suite of skills: 1 point in climb, 1 point in clip pistol, 1 point in swim, 1 point in perception. The person that's in the number 1 slot, I always give perception because they're the one that it checks against. And a point in acrobat, which is just handy, and I like having it, but it probably isn't that critical for the most part. 1 point in silent movement. And you see right below silent movement, combat shoe. That's combat shooting. That skill exists only in the DOS version. You can only get it during character creation, and it does nothing. Not like confidence right below it, which basically has no uses in the game, aside from maybe one that can be done by 4 other skills. Combat shooting is literally useless because it is coded wrong, it's broken, it doesn't work, it does literally nothing. It is nothing but a waste of points. Furthermore, the skill from Mercenary Spies and Private Eyes translated to Wasteland makes no sense because combat works differently. So even if it worked, it wouldn't do anything. Do not spend points on it. Moving on. We're going to pick up Forgery because you do use Forgery later on in the game. There is one use for Forgery that is niche, but it's the best way to get past that particular check. But beyond that, spend on whatever you want. We've got 6 points left that we can spend. You'll notice we bought 1 point of climb. It now costs 2 points to increase. Same with clip pistol. And you'll notice that medic now takes 4 points to increase. The cost doubles each time. So if I give him level 2 medic, level 3 medic will cost 8 points to increase. Generally, you don't buy up skills, you unlock skills. So you'll buy medic and then let it go up through usage. It will increase as you use it. But there are some skills that you want to start off with that are pretty good. Since you start with a clip pistol, we'll put another point into clip pistol. That gives us a level 2 clip pistol. And then we're just going to pick up some other stuff that will be useful later on. Rifle, assault rifle, submachine gun, and yeah, now we can't afford those down there. Brawling and pugilism are melee skills along with knife fight. Brawling is everything else, so we'll come back to that. Knife fight is the skill for using knives. Just knives, not spears, not sticks, just knives. Pugilism is unarmed combat, so nothing in your hands, fighting with your fists. There's no brass knuckles or anything like that in this game. Brawling is everything else. That's your axes, your sledgehammers, your hand mirrors, your books, your maps. Everything that isn't a knife or fists is brawling. By and large, melee combat can be powerful in the game, but especially beginning, I wouldn't bother with it. I would stick with the firearms. Maybe pick it up as a backup, but beyond that, I wouldn't bother with it. Knife throwing is for throwing knives. Just them, not spears. Spears, oddly enough, use anti-tank weapon. Go figure. That's also your manglers, your RPGs, your law, and your Sabot rockets. SMG is submachine guns. There's 2 of them in the game, just like there's 2 assault rifles in the game. Rifle, there's 2 rifles in the game. There's 2 clip pistols in the game. You see where we're going with this? What else do we have? Gambling is fun, but not necessary. It is used in a couple exploits. Picklock, just what it sounds like. Silent movement, there's a couple places where that's useful. Generally, if the person in the front has it, you'll be fine. Combat shooting, as I mentioned, was useless. Confidence, I don't believe has any uses. Sleight of hand. Oh, confidence and sleight of hand can be... There's one place where they could be used, and they're interchangeable. Demolition is of limited use, but fun use. I might... let's pick up we'll pick up demolition in a minute. Alarm disarm, I don't believe has any uses. Bureaucracy, I don't believe has any uses. Bomb disarm has a couple. Safe crack has a couple. And then there's more skills beyond that, but we're not going to be seeing them. So we'll pick up demolition. Yep. So there's primer. So now we're going to quickly create a couple more characters. Provided, oops. And this, I sort of call it rolling snowblindness. When you pass up a good roll because you're so used to hitting the space bar constantly to re-roll that you accidentally go past a great roll because you're kind of mentally checked out. 1614, good enough. Create. Oh, whoops. Russian, whatever. Okay, so we got an extra skill option here, cryptology. That has one use in the game, so we might as well pick it up. Normally, now this is just personal preference. Anyone, you can do it however you want. Normally, my second person in line is my thiefy type character, so that's why I got safe crack and cryptology. But we also got medic because gotta have medic, and climb, clip pistol, swim. Those are all very important skills. Those are all skills that are used a lot. Swim is more of a backup in case you fall into water. Still good to have. Perception, because there's an exploit. Pick clock. And we got 3 skill points left. I'll take bomb disarm. And I've got 1 point left. I will just sell you. Whoops. And as you can see, we have 1 skill point left over, so we can use that elsewhere. Once we have our first 2 characters, 3 and 4... Oof. Well, we'll go ahead and create you. Three and 4 don't... metallurgy. One use, not that important. 3 and 4 are less important. They're just kind of whatevers, whatever I've... skill dumps, that sort of thing. Or in this case, level 2 medic. Until we'll pick up metallurgy. Yeah. All thumbs has no dexterity, so he is going to miss a lot. I probably should have doubled up the clip pistol. There we go. And Bob. M for male. Bob will be Chinese. Go down here, pick up medic, just so we make sure we got it there. Everybody's got medic. Climb, clip pistol, swim, perception. Those are the important ones. We'll pick up acrobat, just because I like having it. Oh, oftentimes, actually, now that I think about it, a lot of the time my number 3 will be my gambler, but in this case, it'll be my number 4. So, level 3 gamble, 8 points to raise it. That's a lot. Is Bob any good at gambling? Not especially. Anyway, so now we've got our party. Hit P, play the game. Here we are on the screen. So, first things first. Equip your weapons. So, commands, keys. If you press spacebar, you'll pull up this screen. This is just showing your characters. And as you can see, they have a number next to them. So if I want Bob, I hit 4. Spacebar to move forward from character sheet, inventory, skills. Escape to move back. All very simple. I want to equip that 45 pistol, so I press 1 and E to equip, and it's equipped. It's highlighted, it's equipped, we're good to go. You can see it on the screen below. M1911A1 45 pistol. Whereas the first two people have the VP91Z 9mm pistol. So you notice 9mm clips, 45 clips. They use different types of ammunition, not interchangeable. And the 9mm has a much larger magazine, clip, whatever. Although this game is rudimentary, so if I take that 9mm clip for my 9mm pistol, ammo 18, I can use that same clip in a 9mm Uzi and it'll have 30 rounds. But, you know, what you gonna do? Old game. So, very quickly on the screen, up here we have a clock. It's 20 minutes after midnight. Over here, this is the Geiger counter. You have to actually have a Geiger counter for it to do anything. And then this is our screen. You know, this is that right there is a place we can go to. That's the Ranger Center that we That's the Ranger Center that we just came out of. This little dude in green is us. So, movement. You can use the mouse and click these directions. This is a terrible way to do it. It's far better to just use the arrow keys. Not WASD, the arrow keys. Up, down, left, right. Very simple. Again, this is old school. Spacebar pulls that up, like we said. So let's go someplace safe and show off some other commands. So if you want to go place, just walk into it, enter a new location. Yes. Now, the game has saved. This game auto-saves every time you change a map that has a loading screen. So, entering Highpool saved the game. Entering here did not save the game. So if it asks you if you want to proceed and you say yes, the game has saved. You can also manually save. We'll get to that in a minute. We've got this command bar down here. As you see, I can highlight it with the mouse, but also can just use keyboard. If I want to use something, I hit U. What player? What character? Well, all thumbs, so 3. Do I want to use an item, a skill, or an attribute? Attribute for A, there's my attributes. S for skill, there's my skills. I for item, there's my items. So we want to use skill, climb. It'll ask which direction. If there was something that I was trying to climb over, whichever direction. Sometimes you need to use space to use the item where you're standing. The game is a little vague on if you need to use it on space or in a direction. My advice to you is, if you're not sure if you want to use the item space or in the direction, use the item on space first. If that doesn't work, then do direction. Because there's a couple places where if you do it wrong, if you're supposed to use it on space and you use it on direction, it's bad news. So we're in here. There's actually some skills we can use here. So, locked door. Now, you have options in this game. You could use strength and kick down the door. Or, you could use a skill like pick lock and pick the door. Now, you'll see that this person popped up with the cyan shirt and pink pants. That is an NPC that you can interact with. And next on our list is ENC, encounter. You hit E, you start the encounter. Now, this is an optional encounter. We don't have to be doing this, so we'll we'll have everybody evade. Oh, and you press up to speed up bars like that. And the encounter ends because we initiated that. If they were hostile, we wouldn't be able to get out like that. We'll come back to them. This person just above us is a store. Primer wants to enter. Wants to sell things. Now you'll notice kind of a limited list there. And, you know, we've got a gun and ammunition in our inventory. The store won't buy them. This is a PX at a youth camp. They're not going to buy guns. They'll buy ropes and canteens and hand mirrors and matches and crowbars. But they're not going to buy our gun. Likewise, they're not going to sell us a gun. But we can get a Geiger counter or maps or rope, jewelry. A lot of this stuff has limited or no uses, but it's there. Then you just hit escape and you leave the shop. Okay. Next in the line here is order. That is just changing the party order. No big deal. Next is disband. That's you pick who you want and the direction, and now you have split your party into two. You can have your party split up to 4 ways. Hit V, next in line, view, to switch. See, now we're with them. Now we're with Bob. And we disband all thumbs and send him over here, and now we will cycle between the 3. And disband Sally up here. And we can cycle along between them. And, you know, you can go over here, and you can go in here, and you can go down here, and you can stay here, or go over here, or go down and visit the doctor. And if we want, you can completely leave Highpool. So now Bob's out on the world. Yes, we'll switch, and now we're over here, over here, over here, and back out to Bob. You can go as far as you want. It's dangerous. It's a good way to get yourself killed, but you can. And we'll pick you up, and then we'll go up here. This is the little interplay icon, in case you're wondering what the hell that is. And you walk on top, and now everyone's back together. But our party order is screwed up, so we hit order, and Primer, Sally, all thumbs, Bob, done. Boop. There are other uses for disband. If you've got a person that you've hired and you want to get rid of them, when you click disband and you click their name, it'll ask if you want to disband whomever forever. If you say yes, they're gone. Forever. You can't go back and pick them up later. They cease to exist. Also, if a party member is dead and you try to disband them, it will ask if you wish to bury them. And that's another way to get a dead person out of your party. Save is next in line. And that's just S. Save the game? Yes. That's also how you quit. There's no... Q won't do anything, but we don't want to quit yet. And then R for radio. That is how you gain levels. We haven't done anything, so we don't have enough for a level. Now, we are going to... This is also, by the way, this is Highpool. This is where one of the places the manual suggests that you go. Oh, hey, look what we found. Found some money. Oh, and a leather jacket. Good times. Use 1 skill. 5. Perception. Space. Use the skill on the space. Figured something out. So now we know what's wrong. We need to fix the pump. But more importantly, we got a leather jacket. Equip. Now, Primer has an AC of 1. This isn't D&D. The higher the AC, the better. Caps at 14. If I remember right, that's how many dice of the opponent's damage roll are removed. So if the opponent is doing 1d6 damage, and I've got a leather jacket, they're now doing 0d6 damage, so they don't hurt. If they're doing 2, I'm still taking half the damage. So, higher is better. Now, let's go over here and talk to Bobby. Yes, we want to talk. What do you want to ask him about? Well, we saw in that note in that other room where I was screwing around that there was something about a cave. Aren't supposed to go behind the bushes. What about the bushes? The cave is between the pool and the west cliff wall, kind of between those two trees. Don't kill my dog Rex. And then he runs away yelling about Rex. Okay, this is where they said it was. I don't see anything. Press escape to make the time pass. I still don't see anything. Oh, I've got an idea. Let's use that perception skill. I see nothing special, huh? Let me try that again. Oh! Hey, there we go. Found a deep hole to a dark cave. Short strand of frayed rope about 3 inches. Dangles. Well, there's a cave down there. So let's go ahead and use our own rope on space. Look at that. We found a new place. Here's a little secret. Use item. Match. Space. Doesn't look like it did anything, but it actually changed something in the game. We'll come back to that. Can't get past. But wait. I gave everybody climb. Ha. Now, if you hadn't used the match, that would be a rabid dog instead of a spiked mutt. And it would be much tougher. So now we're in combat. This, by the way, is Rex. So, you can see in combat, run, that's move. That is not like end combat. Use is just like it is on the real world. Hire, we can't hire the dog. Evade, that's kind of dodge. That lessens your chances of getting hit. Attack, obvious. Weapon, that switches any gear. You can also change your armor while using weapon. Load and unjam, very self-explanatory. Let's take a look at run real quick here. So, you can do a party run or a single player. If you do party, that's going to be it for your turn. But we could move up to get a little bit closer to Rex, or over to move away from Rex. Or single and have just Primer move. If you've got mixed melee and ranged, you might have your melee characters charge forward to attack. However, the interface is a little clunky and generally don't advise that. So we're just going to have everybody attack and hit yes. Slow it down. There. So Sally got him. 13 points damage, kill it. Now, it scrolled off, but Primer also shot him. But only the killing blow gets the experience points. Something to potentially keep in mind. We'll take that jewelry. And we'll keep going, because we also read about someone being lost in this cave. There we go. Optional encounter. So we'll hit E to encounter. Please help me get out of here. Alright, so this is where hire comes in. Hire. You can have everybody hire or everybody evade. It doesn't matter. Just don't attack. Thank you for rescuing me. And now we have Jackie, who was missing. And if Bobby hadn't run off right away, we would have... Jackie is friends with Bobby. Jackie's a juvenile. Not great stats. But she does know how to knife fight. It's a little disturbing. Now, if your climb skill on everybody is sufficient, you will just scoot right on by that. We have to do it the hard way. Now we leave. Now we go down here. And Rex's grave. Because apparently we're jerks. If this kind of unnerves you, there's a way around it. You can kill Rex. If you don't pick up that jewelry that we picked up, that Primer grabbed, that jewelry right there, if you don't pick that up, the game doesn't register him as being killed. Because it's not just a grave. It's also Bobby. Bobby's out for blood. So now we're going to use run to move closer. Because these weapons have very short range. Now, you'll notice that Bobby is not attacking us. Well, he is now, because we're in melee range. And you notice that he kind of hurts. Sally's been pounded, as has Bob. So, what we've got here is you don't have to kill Bobby. No. If you're willing to put up with this nonsense, you can scoot past him. You don't have to kill him. But it's also worth noting that we have terrible guns. It's also worth noting that you very much can kill Bobby and take his gun and jewelry. Now Bobby's dead. Now, so the actions in the game do have consequences. Yeah, we slip and fall. In fact, we're going to see some more consequences here. Grab that. Yes, I'm killing a bunch of children. Oh, might as well point that out. We're getting a little long, but I can choose because there's two groups of them. So you attack one, you attack two. But you'll notice with Jackie, I don't have any control over that because Jackie's an NPC. She does whatever the hell she wants. I can tell her to attack, but she picks who she attacks. And if she had an automatic weapon where she had an option of single burst or full auto, she would also pick that. Now, by the way, if you're doing this, this is where you stop. Because if you pick up the chubby kid's loot, you face off against the Red Rider. Oh, Jackie's out cold. And we just killed the Red Rider. Now we hit escape to pass the time. You can see the clock going. There we go. Now, if you take this... No, we can't go in there anymore. The doctor, we can't go in there anymore. We can't go in there anymore. The cave's still there. The grave is not. You have utterly destroyed Highpool. It doesn't come back from this. Needless to say, this is quite the shocker to a 12-year-old. Just a couple more things I want to show, and then we'll move on. We are passing time. Time passes at different rates on different maps. On the overworld, every time you hit escape, the clock advances 4 minutes. On a world like this, it's 2 presses to advance the clock. On some it's 4 presses, and on some it's 1 for 1. Oh, something else. This isn't really documented. If you press and hold Control and hit F1, you'll see that we're now recording macro number 1. And then we just hold down Escape, and then Control F1, And now when we hit F1, it automatically executes that. It's also very handy for combat. So you can just set up a macro for combat and just hit the button, and away you go. Now, there's something else I want to show off. We don't have a Geiger counter, remember. But it's 7 o'clock at night. We can see this wall of radiation. From 6 p.m., so 1800, to 6 a.m., 0600, radiation is visible because it glows in the dark. How's that for clever? So we go back in here and pass the time to 8 in the morning and go back up. We have to be much more careful. Radiation is gone. If we step on that radiation, we're screwed. Also, something else to keep in mind, canteen, drop. Don't do that. Because heat exhaustion. Serious heat exhaustion. So now Jackie is seriously wounded. Use primer, skill, medic on Jackie. Improving. Good. She's now unconscious. You'll notice that when I'm using the skill, 1053, time doesn't advance unless you hit escape or move. So you can spend 4 hours real time trying to use your level 1 medic to heal a comatose character. They won't get worse unless you move. Worth keeping in mind. But now she's seriously wounded. Now she's critically wounded. Mortally wounded. See, even if the doctor was still here, comatose. So even if the doctor was still here and we tried to rush to the doctor, we would have just barely made it. So let's wait a little while longer. And now she's dead. Jackie is beyond help. So now, disband 5. Do you want to dismiss Jackie forever? No. Do you want to bury Jackie? Yes. And now Jackie's gone. Boop. And likewise, the ground seems to glow here. Notice how our max is now highlighted? That means we are irradiated, which means we do not heal over time. All thumbs will not wake up, no matter how much time we wait. And passing time, those hit points, those constitution will not go up. You have to go to a doctor once you've got that. And continued will make things worse. Now all thumbs is serious. And if you keep going, it gets even worse. And then it's time to start a new game. But hopefully this gives you an idea of how to get into the game and how to play. I realize this is a long video. I tried not to be too rambly, but there's a lot of guts to this game that you have to kind of come to grips with. But once you do, you'll find that it is a extremely intuitive game. You know, how do you radio? You press R. It's very intuitive. Don't think about using the mouse, just use the keyboard. It'll run much better with just the keyboard. You don't need the mouse. And once you get used to its quirks and the kind of weird stuff about it, you'll find that it's great. This is my favorite game. I have played this game hundreds of times. I know it inside and out. And the thing is, every now and then I still find something new. For a game that fit on a single 1.44 megabyte floppy disk for the IBM, this is a very rich and deep game. And yeah, if if you've never played older games like this before, it can take a bit to get into. There's a learning curve, and there's, I don't have a problem with this because when I started playing games, this was gold standard. This interface was better than any other interface. The Overland map was a little goofy with, just the dude to represent your party. The graphics were a little bit lower, even though the cameos were great, but the general graphics were kind of low and a little on the underwhelming side, but that's because they saved that room to pack a lot into this game. And there's a lot packed into this game. It's very rich and very deep, and well worth your time. Like I said, there is a bit of a learning curve. It does take a little bit to get used to the interface if you're not used to 30-year-old games. But honestly, with how intuitive and how logical the interface is, it shouldn't take too long to get used to it. And again, the most important thing to keep in mind, don't bother with the mouse. It shows you this little hand and you can click on things. Don't bother with that mouse. The mouse is a trap. So, with that, I think I'm going to call it. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask in the comments. I will gladly answer them. I can talk about Wasteland for days. I can't stop making videos about Wasteland. So, if there's any comments, any specific things that you're curious about, let me know. I'd be more than willing to help. Until then, go out and play Wasteland. It's really good. It's worth your time. And even though Chrome is working on a remaster, and I'm sure it's going to be great, there is still something about this classic, about all the original forms. I mean, I'm still playing it on a C64 emulator, just because that was how I first played it. So seeing those graphics and stuff, but yeah, give it a whirl. It's not expensive, and it's a classic, and it has inspired so much in modern gaming. I mean, Fallout wouldn't exist if it wasn't for this game. I mean, you guys owe it to yourselves to play it. It's pretty great.